Hello and welcome to Jazz Piano Daily number 95. So today I'm going to show you the 3 ways in which you could suck at improvisation and how you can fix it. All right, so now in yesterday's lesson, we were talking about the 3 different concepts for improvisation and 3 secrets of how you can utilize your chord tones, how you can utilize your scales, and how you can utilize your chromatic scale. And again, it's helpful to think of the analogy as your chord tones being your boulders, your scales being sand that goes in between those boulders, and the chromatic scale, which I failed to mention yesterday, is kind of like water. It fills in every little amount of space because you literally have no other space smaller than a chromatic scale on the piano. Little tidbit for you, if you're a violin or string instruments, you can do quarter tones, which is actually in between the half step. But anyway, we can't really do that effectively on a piano unless we're using like our little pitch bend, which we're not going to do, all right? So anyway, so what are the different ways in which you can actually suck at your improvisation and it just doesn't sound all that good? All right, well, the first one is rhythm. Playing with a flat rhythm. So if I put on my iReal Pro, and what I'm doing here as well is I made a Georgia on My Mind light version, so it's just the first 8 measures of Georgia, just up through the first ending, and it just keeps repeating that. Right? It makes it a little bit easier for you to just be able to pull up that iReal Pro track and just improvise over 8 measures rather than trying to improvise over the entire song. All right, so we're going to start with just this first 8 measures here. So take a listen when I play this if I'm playing with flat rhythm and what that sounds like. And I'm just going to do my rootless chords down here. All right, so now I played all the right notes, so all of those notes sound fine with those chords, but rhythmically you could hear that it's pretty flat, right? So how do you fix that? There I was doing a lot of quarter notes, I was doing a lot of eighth notes, threw a little bit of triplets in there. The first thing you could do is try utilizing your triplets, all right? Triplets are a great rhythm to use. Remember, triplets are 3 attacks or hits within 1 beat. So it'd be triplet, 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 triplet. It would sound like this. All right, so now you'll see that I just played a lot more triplets, but I did something else in there as well. I did play and rest. Okay, so I played and I made sure that there was some space in my solo. This is where a lot of students get this one wrong. They play and they just want to keep playing, and never take a break. Now, if you played a wind instrument, well, you'd be forced to take a break, right? You've got to take a breath every now and again. But when you're playing the piano, you can just keep playing, or a guitar or any instrument in which you don't have to breathe through it in order to play it. You have the benefit of not having to worry about running out of breath. But the problem is that it sounds very unnatural when you're playing all of the time and you don't have any rest in there. So be sure to add in some rest. The other thing is vary up your rhythm, utilizing the triplets. The other nice trick is use upbeats and downbeats. That's what creates your syncopation. So listen, when I start this, I might not start right on the beat, right? So, ba triplet, ba triplet. Now, you might say, hey, wait a second, Willie, you're throwing in some notes in there that are going to make it sound good. So this time what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play chord tones, right? I'll just utilize the chord tones, but I'm going to vary up the rhythm. I'm going to be thinking about starting on the downbeat and then also starting on the upbeat, and I'm also going to be thinking about adding in some rest into my solo. So those 3 things, varying the rhythm, varying whether I start on a downbeat or on an upbeat, and then also adding in some rest into my solo. Here we go. Okay, so now you can hear that's all chord tones that I'm utilizing there, and it sounds halfway decent. Again, you might like the improv or not. Go ahead, write your comments. Like, there's always going to be one person who's like, "Oh, I can't stand your improv." Fine, that's not the point. The point isn't whether or not you like my improv. The point is to make you better at improvisation. So if you don't like my improv, fine, go do your own thing. But this is the way to get there, all right? So you got to think about varying up that rhythm, using some different rhythms, varying up whether you're starting on a downbeat or an upbeat, and then also thinking about adding in some of that resting in there. Play and rest, play and rest. All right, so number 2 is no dynamics. Now you can already hear in there that I was playing with dynamics, right? And dynamics is loud and soft, right? Piano forte, right? So if you're playing all with the same dynamic, that is no different than when you have that teacher in high school in which they talk in a monotone voice and you start to tone them out, right? So if you're talking in a monotone voice, you're going to start to tune someone out, right? You're not going to listen to that. So the same thing holds true here. Now, one great way of fixing this is try playing as soft as you can play, then try playing as loud as you can play. This allows you to kind of see and feel and hear those differences, all right? So let's try that. Let's play as soft as I can play. Now I'm going to go as loud. Now, one thing, when I play louder, notice I'm also trying to be careful that my left-hand chords are not too loud. When I play louder, I don't want to go... I don't want to be banging down in that left hand. The left hand should still be lower in volume than the right hand. Also notice that I'm not banging with my right hand. I'm grabbing, pulling at those notes, right? Like, that's pretty much as loud as you can play, pulling at those notes, right? Especially when you're doing single note. But when you're improvising, think about your dynamics. Are you playing very dynamically flat, or are you adding in some dynamics? Number 3 is your articulation, either having poor articulation or no articulation. What is articulation? That's basically staccato, legato, right? So you're playing some notes short, you're playing some a little bit longer, smooth and connected, or is everything just the same? So if I play everything kind of the same with that same legato feel, right, so I'm playing all legato there. I'm not adding in any staccato. I'm not really accenting any of those notes at all. Now listen to when I do it this way. Right? Now it starts to come alive by adding in some of those articulations. And there in that last example, you could hear that I'm doing all 3 of these. I'm thinking about the rhythm, I'm thinking about my dynamics, I'm thinking about my articulation, okay? And then along with that rhythm as well, if we were to add on a 4th one here, is the playing and the rest. It's not just a consistent playing all of the time. You need to have some breaks in there, right? So what I have done is there's no specific sheet music for this lesson, but for my Jazz Piano Daily members, I created this very simple little PDF that you can go ahead and download. Again, put it on your piano or keyboard and just have it as a reminder to be thinking about these 3 different possibilities. Remember, part of rhythm is also play and rest. I'm going to add that in parentheses under rhythm for you as well, so you won't forget about that, okay? Because rhythm isn't always just about playing new rhythms. It's about sometimes playing rhythms, but then sometimes silence. And remember, the definition of rhythm is the alternation between sound and silence, right? When you have sound and silence, and that alternating between them, that's what creates our rhythm. All right, so anyway, that's it. Hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you in tomorrow's lesson. To get the first 45 pages of music for free, just go back to jazzpianodaily.com. If you liked the video, please be sure to click the like button and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. To watch the rest of the lessons in this series, just click on the playlist to the right of this arrow. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.